Hi, and welcome to this video. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about look and feel and customization of look and feel within the JUCE framework. So if you'd watched any of my other videos, you'll notice that this is kind of what the UI used to look like. I've sort of gone back and reinstated some of the changes that I'd done to sort of make the point a bit clearer, I suppose, about what I'd done. So there's some sort of default group controls here, drop down list, sort of combo box, some default sliders, and yeah, there's a meter control and some buttons and stuff here as well. And then on the looper side of things, this tab, again, this is not exactly how it used to look. It looks a bit horrible at the moment, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to show you what I'd been doing. So I guess the really sort of neat thing about the JUCE framework is the ability to override the sort of default settings that you get, and that's all done through a look and feel. So there's a look and feel class that you override, and then you set that look and feel in your application, and then you're able to most of the components to override how those components are drawn. So what I'll do is if I just close this, if I just reinstate, so from the image buttons, from these as well, if I go into the plugin editor, just undo, add the look and feel back in. So if I rerun this, then what you'll see, just wanted to show you a few things that I've overridden. So you can see that generally there's a new font. So the group controls have been overridden. Essentially what I've got is like a flat piece of color with a little tab at the top. Changed the font for the for the drop downs and stuff. Styled that. I've got obviously for the sliders we've got it looks like a sort of fader knob from a real mixing desk. And then from the record point of view, you'll see we've got this button here, mouse over, and then we've got this record thing, you stop it. Yeah, so that all works there. Again, for the load sample button, we've got using a different type of control for this, which is a bit more sort of cross-platform friendly and a bit more a bit more performant as well, actually. So that has been styled as well. Not to do with look and feel, actually, but generally there's sort of the advice on the JUCE forums was definitely to use a sort of file. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, I can't with it. Yeah, the advice on the JUCE forums was to use I think it's a file browser component rather than a file open dialog. So not having modal dialogues attached to your plugins is a good idea, and actually just to use overlay windows which you show and hide. And then yeah, so the general sort of theme is sort of like creams and light browns, medium browns, rather than the sort of green thing that I went for. And again, I'm no graphic artist, but I sort of tried to neaten everything up a little bit. It's got a logo down here and who it's by. And then on the looper side of things, did a similar sort of thing of just sort of these sliders belong to the same class. I've overridden those. Got button control, and same for these button controls as well. They use the same sort of method. And then for these levels, I've decided to use a knob just because I wanted to be a bit different. So yeah, you can set these are based on images. You can set the levels that way, which is quite nice. They've got quite good sort of control over that, which is nice. Yeah, so that's it really. So again, you might notice there's a very slight drop shadow on the controls, just to give them that little bit of a pop sort of thing. But yeah, basically just a few tweaks. I just wanted to make it a little bit less generic and a little bit more sort of I guess slightly nicer looking. Hopefully it is nicer looking. So in terms of how that's done, if I just close that, as I mentioned, you need a look and feel class. So if I go to the main plugin editor, and I go to the constructor, See here there is a set default look and feel. It's this app look and feel. App look and feel is an instance of my SL look and feel class, hit F12. So essentially what you do is you create a new class, you derive it from look and feel underscore v4. You see where this is defined. So what you'll notice, there's sort of 4 different versions of look and feel. If you open this file, and in dev JUCE is where the main JUCE library is, got modules, JUCE GUI basics, look and feel. You'll see there's standard look and feel, v1, v2, v3 and v4. So I think what's happened is there's been sort of iterative improvements to look and feel as time has gone on. You'll notice that v2 is the biggest one. This is where the majority of the controls are. But it's definitely worth, let's say, looking in those files to find out the most recent function that's been overridden. Yeah, so what you'll notice is in the constructor I set up some default colors here, just for different things like labels and other text colors that I want, and then there's various different functions. So for example, draw linear slider. Now this function, if I just do Control-Shift-F and search for it all, what you'll find out if you go through in the results here, you'll see there's a version of it in V1, V2, V3 and V4. So this is something that's been updated. So if you wanted to get the default or the current implementation of it, you'd go into look and feel V4, sorry, in the CPP file, not the header file. And what you'll see, the contents of this function is what currently draws the linear slider. So when you've got a linear slider control, which I just had now, so a linear slider is something like this, then this is the function that draws it. If you look through, is it a bar? It's not a bar, no. We're actually doing a single value, either vertical or horizontal. What you'll notice is this is sort of the default implementation. So what I do in my look and feel, this is in my project, is I copied and pasted quite a lot of this code. There's some stuff I do to basically make sure that I draw the correct thing. So what you'll notice is in the original, so if I go to if I go to look and feel v4, what happens is they set color and then draw fill ellipse. So what I do, is instead of draw fill ellipse, I actually draw an image. And which image do I draw? Well, I draw the horizontal. If it's horizontal, then I draw the horizontal slider knob image, and if it's vertical, then I draw the slider knob vertical image. Now this, what I do, that is a binary file that I've imported into this project. And the way binaries, and maybe I'll cover this in a different video, but the way binaries are handled is I use producer, which is, if we go to if we go to the source, so there's a .juicer, so this is the so this is the sort of so this is the project file that is used by the JUCE framework to sort of create the Visual Studio projects for you. And what you can do in the files is you can import a binary object. You right click and you go add existing file, you select a file, and then what it does is when you click save, it takes that binary file, converts it to an array of char stars, which if you go into here, into JUCE, where is it? It gets added to the project automatically for you in binary data. Open binary data. Now this is obviously quite a big file. Let's say we've got, let me try and find, actually there. So if I go here, so image horizon is image slider 2 knob is get from, so basically you call image cache get from memory, and it's binary data slider thumb 02. So that's this. What will that do? That is a pointer to the binary data called 25. So this, hit F12 on that. So this array of data here represents the image slider 2 knob. So if I go back to the producer file, what you'll notice is in images I've got this thing called image slider 2 O thumb, and that's what the it's a transparent PNG file which represents the a horizontal slider. And I imported a number of these. So you've got a vertical one. I've got this boss-like knob. And so I used a thing called Knobman, which will create a film strip of pictures for you, and I'll get onto that in a second actually. But so essentially what I wanted to do is, so you've got your look and feel class, you inherit from the latest look and feel base class, set up some stuff, basically importing images from the binary data, and then when you need them, so like I override draw linear slider, and essentially what I do is it's pretty similar to the base implementation, which is in here. So this is the base implementation. I copied and pasted it, and then I just edited it until it did what I wanted it to do. So essentially I draw an image, instead of drawing like a filled ellipse with like a little blue circle, I draw the slider. And that is that pretty much for the sliders. So get typeface font for, so this is an interesting one. So basically a return, basically my TF label font. So the fonts are handled slightly differently. So I've got a class namespace called fonts. So a class called fonts in my sort of app namespace, and I've got 6-7 different fonts. I only use sort of 2 or 3 of them, but essentially they are different types of font. And if this is in fonts.h, if I open fonts.cpp, what you'll see is in the constructor, let's say TF title, it goes and creates a type system. So for, again, I've binary data, and I've basically imported a font, Aclonica regular. Again, if I go F12 on that, you'll see that font is, again, it's just a binary entry inside this binary data.cpp file. And I guess that's one of the good things about JUCE as well, which means that when you're importing binary content, you don't have to have them in a separate folder, that you have to try to sort of load them in a platform agnostic way. They're essentially embedded inside the code, the compiled code, as a binary resource, which you can just access this way, through the binary data namespace, and just loading it from memory, which I think is really handy. So it saves you managing files on disks and copying them to things. So it really just means that when you deliver a plugin as a delivered piece of software, it's just the .vst3 file, or it's just the .dll for the VST2 version, or it's .au for logic. So yeah, it makes it a lot easier to deal with. So back to the look and feel. Draw rotary slider. So again, this, if you've got a slider and you've set the style to rotary, then draw rotary slider is the function that gets called to do that. So we've implemented the override for this. Again, same sort of thing. Totally ignore that. This is a macro that JUCE to basically just get rid of compiler warnings, to say that I don't use, so because I don't use rotary end angle in this function. When I compile it, I was previously getting warnings saying I hadn't used that variable, so I just used the ignore unused function, which essentially just tells so yeah, it doesn't do anything, but because I'm referencing that variable, compiler doesn't complain anymore that I'm not using it. Right, and then what I do is I call Fss Draw Frame. So FSS actually is a little thing called Film Strip Slider. So what I did is I made a little class called Film Strip Slider, and what it does is it basically has an image, which is a strip of images, like a long film strip, which I showed you earlier, of different images of the knob, and then it does some calculations as to what's going on. So if I just hit F12 on here, so what it does is in the constructor you pass it in an image, the number of frames that are in that image, and then the size, like the width, and whether it's vertical or not. And then when you've got when you need to draw a frame, essentially what you do is you do a slide. You basically work out the slider. So you get the value of so you get the minimum and maximum, and then you get the value. Then essentially what you do is you work out based on the current value and the minimum and the maximum. So this is basically max minus min divided into value minus min. So essentially that what gets you a normalized value between 0 and 1 of the current value, so you know how far around that your rotated knob needs to be. So much innuendo. Anyway, too many knobs, that's for sure. Right, and then what you do is just convert that into into an index of it's basically which frame of the sort of film strip of images that you've got. Actually, if I just load that up, if I go into resources, images, is it boss like knob? It's this one, isn't it? Yeah, if I just zoom in. So essentially what you've got, and you might be thinking, oh well, where do I get all these from? Well, this comes from a thing called Knobman, which again I can do something about. If there's any interest, let me know, but I can certainly sort of maybe do a bit more of a sort of a tutorial, if I could spell. I should know where it is. Okay, cool. Let's do this. So yeah, this is a thing called Knobman, which basically allows you can start with, so there's only 5 images here. Anyway, it allows you to define start, middle and end positions and images for your knob. And then what it will do is when you go file, oh wow, GeForce thinks this is a game. Excellent. It's all a game. When you go export image, what it will do is it will just essentially output what you saw here, which is this film strip of knob images. And what you then do is back in your code, when you override it, you can use that to then, based on the value of the current thing, you can tell the JUCE framework which image that you need to draw. So once we worked out this pos, then essentially all we do is say, well, if it's vertical, then should we do the same thing? Actually, don't we? If it's vertical or horizontal. Oh no, we don't. It's either 0, comma. Oh yes. So if the input image, if this film strip is vertical, we either go. So basically, we go. How many times the width do we go through? So we sort of jump through and okay, it's the 30th image. So it's 30 times the width of this image. Yeah, and if it was vertical, then it's going to be, you're going to start x equals 0 and y is going to be index times the size of each individual frame. Anyway, and that's it, and you just draw the image. So going back to the look and feel, for the sorry, where are we? for the Rotary slider. Yeah, I just abstracted that out in a different class. I think I found that somewhere. Someone else was doing something quite similar, and I just sort of just took it and modified it slightly. But yeah, so essentially what we've done, we've overridden that, and if you go back to the looper, essentially this is what you've got. This is the end result, is that you've got a knob that you can rotate here, and it looks kind of cool. It might be slightly sort of over-engineered, I don't know. Maybe people just do flat stuff these days and that looks better. But essentially what I wanted to do was sort of prove out the process of overriding things and sort of styling them and making them look nice. The other big bit of overriding I did, actually, speaking about, is the group control. So previously, if you remember, actually, the group control was just a simple text with this sort of single line going out the outside. But I thought it's quite nice just to have, you know, a block of color with the, you know, with the text in like a sort of tab, like an old school, you know, file, sort of, you know, paper file, card file type thing. So, and again, right, so again, if I do, so if you look, just do Control-Shift-F, draw component outline, I go find all. And then you go to, and just look down here. Okay, so version 2 was the last time this was updated. So if I go into CPP, draw component outline, you'll see there's a bunch of stuff in here where it does starts new subpath, P-line 2, add arc. So essentially what it does, it starts at the text, and then it draws a line, it goes right, and then it does an arc, and then it goes down, and then it does an arc, and then it goes across, arc, up, arc, and back to the text. So that's what this is all doing, and then it draws the text, strokes the path, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what the group component did. So what I did was I took that and then I changed it slightly. So what I did is I drew 2 rounded rectangles. I do one offset slightly by 2 + 2 pixels to do the black drop shadow, and then I do the rounded rectangle for, this is all for the text. So this is I do this bit first, do a rounded rectangle here to draw that bit, and then I set the color to be group outline color, and then I do another rounded rectangle. So I do the main one, which is this one here, and the black underneath first, and then the other one on top. So yeah, that's basically what it is. But I mean, for everything that you want to override, you just basically find the right function and override it. What else have I done in here? Oh, get label font. Yeah, so basically I choose, oh, this is, yeah, so what did I do for label font? Yes, okay, so it either returns TF title, TF company, or TF label. Okay, and this is based on the label.properties. So what I did was every component in JUCE can have any number of properties, and what you can do, this can be useful to identify things for debugging, but it can also be useful for setting conditional styles. So what I did was, when I created my label, again, so if I do Control-Shift-F on company font, in my plugin editor, I create a label called name set text by Mac Music, company name get properties.set, company font. So basically I set a value, property value of company font, and I set that value to true. This means that label has a property of it called company font, and its value is true. So in the look and feel, what font do I want to, so when I'm saying get label font, okay, normally for every label I just want you to return the TF label font, but if label.getProperties.get with default company font, then I want to return an instance of the TF company font, because I want to draw that differently, and the company, that is by Mac Music, so that is the different font that I want than every other label gets drawn in. So that's just a simple way of basically tagging a particular control as being part, as needing a particular style. Right, fill text editor background, again, get combo box font. So it's all sort of similar stuff, basically just making sure that those fonts get set correctly. Tab bar button background, again, just wanted to try and make the buttons a bit higher on the tab bar, and what's this, tab bar, extra buttons. Yeah, so I'm not using this at the moment. It's not sort of, yeah, this is not, yeah, so I'm not currently using this as an experimentation to sort of try and get the tab buttons a bit bigger. The other thing is get tab button font again and get pop-up menu font, so just making sure the fonts are consistent. But apart from that, that's it. So that pretty much sort of covers, you know, what we do with look and feel. Again, I could probably cover, I think I'll call it there because this is going to be quite long. I'll probably do another video actually on the binary data stuff, because this is quite interesting. You know, if you want to import binary data, I think it's a really good way, as I said before, I think it's a really good way of doing sort of, you know, platform agnostic binary data management. That's a long waffly thing to say. So I just wanted to show you, yeah, so basically how we got from, so this is a screenshot of the old thing, how we got from that essentially to this. And hopefully, you know, I guess look at them sort of side by side, or hopefully, I guess, you know, let me just check that out. Just say, put them side by side. Yeah, so hopefully sort of, you know, this looks a little bit better than this. But yeah, so that's it for now. Anyway, yeah, so this is dragged on a little bit. We'll do some stuff about the binary data next video. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. And you know, if you like what you see, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. Obviously, you know, if you want to know any more about this specific topic, then please do add a comment below. And you know, as always, if you'd like to stay up to date and see when I release more of this type of content, then please do click that subscribe button and hit the bell to get reminded when that new content goes up. Okay, great. Thanks very much again, and see you next time. Cheers, bye.